Alright, what is going on my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So we made a video last night when the official news came out on Twitter in regards to Vegapunk and his brand new Sugofest exclusive, which was exciting. And you know, there are different opinions about this character. A lot of people are excited, some people really wanted him for anniversary, some people like what he does, some people are a little bit disappointed. I do feel like they could have done a bit better in terms of the unit design this time around. I'm not that mad that he's not an anniversary unit. I couldn't care less where this character showed up, but I do think they could have done a couple things better to make him work a bit better with Lilith and also Atlas and the rest of the Vegapunk characters. But we have some more things to talk about. You know, Vegapunk was not the only thing to come out with this data download. We have Shaka for the first time, so we'll go through his abilities, as well as the super evolution of Jewelry Bonney, which we'll talk about as well. So let's start things off with the Vegapunk here. So we've got the official Sugofest here. It is going to be going live on April 20th, and there is actually two parts here. So it's April 20th for that part, April 19th for part 1. You got different characters boosted on each part, but we're just specifically going to be talking about Shaka. So we've already talked about Vegapunk extensively. Go ahead and check out the other YouTube video if you want to see my full thoughts and breakdowns on Vegapunk. But let's go ahead and talk about Shaka. So Shaka, unfortunately, is being relegated to being a Kizuna Rare recruit. I feel like Shaka was the type of unit that probably could have been a Sugofest exclusive. I feel like he probably deserved it way more than Atlas, but it is what it is. But let's go ahead and have a look. So he's Int Cerebral Free Spirit, same class and type combination as Vegapunk himself. Captain ability doesn't really matter that much. Int and Cerebral boosting 4.25, makes size slots matching, and adds a little bit of a buff to any color affinity boost that you have to your team. So it's pretty much what we thought it was going to be. And you have a look at the special, and the special is not what we thought it was going to be. So first of all, it delays all enemies for 1 turn, removes all poison, reduces despair by 6 turns, and if you have a color affinity boost when you launch the special, he further increases the color affinity by 0.5, and then after that doubles the color affinity of cerebral characters for 2 turns. So it's like if you have a color affinity boost, you buff it. If you don't, then you get a 2 times color affinity boost for 2 turns for Cerebral. And then it also says further increase crew's type effect boost by 0.25. This effect also applies to the type effect boost from his special and reduces damage taken by 70% for 2 turns. So he does a couple different things, but because he's kind of relegated to just a Kizuna Rare recruit, he's just kind of there to just fulfill a role of just a role player, really. Just a unit, a utility unit you can use to get around a couple different debuffs, and that's just kind of it. He does apply delay. It doesn't go through full immunity, but of course with the Vegapunk, the actual Vegapunk himself, he does have the potential to give your crew a 2.5 conditional boost against delay, poison, defense down characters. So this could be used in that sense, but because he doesn't go through full immunity, it's a bit of a shame. Pythagoras and Edison reduces defense to 0 for 1 turn, so that can also be used to grant that conditional boost from Vegapunk himself. But of course, none of these effects go through immunity, so it really depends on what they have in store in regards to that. But that could be a bit of an issue. As for his crewmate abilities, size slots are matching for Cerebral, and then reduces despair by 1 turn if your captain is Cerebral. That's a very good crewmate ability. So I assume like 7 turns of paralysis, or maybe 10 turns, right? Because he removes 6, 1 with his crewmate ability, and then, you know, 3 from sockets. 10 turn despair removal probably is going to be required in this content. As for his potential abilities, he does have the support effect attaching to any Int Cerebral unit. If the supported character uses a special to change the slots, further increases the type effect boost by 0.25. I found this a little bit interesting as well, the fact that we have like a lot of these Vegapunk characters have specials that or supports that support Int Cerebral characters that do slot change, but there actually isn't a lot of Int Cerebral characters that do slot change at all. That are like the Vegapunk characters. I don't think any of them actually do that. I think maybe York does slot change. I can't remember exactly, but it is a little strange because the slot change from like Lilith and Atlas to come from their super class, which the supports won't trigger under. So I don't really understand what they had in store for this. I'm sure there's going to be another character coming out in the future that may have some synergy with this, but there we go. That's the breakdown of Shaka. I'm not really that like excited about him. I wish he was a SugoFest exclusive, but and we got Vegapunk as well, just to briefly show his sprite because it looks really, really cool. Cool to see Vegapunk in the game for the first time, and I do think he's actually going to be good in Rumble. Not, you know, I think he's a fine unit, but remember, he is going to be a Kizuna legend. It is confirmed he is a Kizuna Clash only legend, meaning that you won't be able to pull him from normal legend tickets you get from events. You can only pull him from future Kizuna Clash SugoFests, which I think is really terrible for, you know, like Vegapunk and the way that they're kind of trying to construct this team. This unit should have been a normal batch legend. That's the way that I see it, but they didn't have that same idea. They did it with Atlas as well. Atlas is a treasure map legend, so if you don't pull her there, you basically have to just wait, which is kind of a shame. But that's the breakdown of these new units. Let's go ahead over to have a look at what Bonney does. So if we go over to the Super Evolution screen, we can go ahead and have a look at the Super Evolution of Jewelry Bonney. Remember, you can pick up this character for free by competing in the Pirate Rumble season that is currently ongoing. So Jewelry Bonney, artwork by the way, looks absolutely fantastic. Really, really good artwork here. But she actually changes quite drastically from her original form. The thing about Bonney as well is that you have a look. So she's Free Spirit Fighter in this current form. The thing about it is that with this update, they're also giving the base Jewelry Bonney a level limit break. And this is important because the base form of Bonney and the 6+ form of Bonney are actually quite different from each other in some ways. So it's actually a suggested idea to go ahead and have multiple different copies of Bonney. So let's go ahead and have a look at what the level limit break of Bonney will actually change for this unit. So the base form of Bonney is an int focused unit. So int characters get 5.5 if they have a recovery slot, 4.75 otherwise. All other characters 4.25, and then makes recovery slots matching. And if you attack with super effective damage, then it gives that character a recovery slot at the start of the next turn. A solid captain, but it just doesn't do that much. It's basically just recovery focused stuff and having like damage multipliers. It just doesn't do that much. Her super type is also pretty cool. So it changes all slots to recovery, reduce 3 turns of fear, and then also gives herself -1 turn of cooldown whilst giving super int. And then you have her special ability, which does a lot of different things. First of which, 10 turn removal of special bind and slot bind, which is very good. Reduces all cooldowns by 1, sets enemies defense to 0 for 1 turn, changes empty block unfavorable into recovery, gives int characters a 2.75 times attack boost for 2 turns, and then sets a chain multiplier minimum value, so grants a chain boundary for 2 turns based on the number of recovery slots that you've consumed before launching the special. So it mentions that it sets the chain minimum to 3.0 chain boundary to a max of 25 if you've done 0 or more. Then it's a 3.25 chain boundary if 8 or more, and then a 3.5 chain boundary if you've had 15 or more. So at a base value, still getting the good removal of slot bind, special bind, cooldown reduction, defense reduction, slot change, attack boost, and chain boundary, all with one special ability. Level limit break of Bonney looks pretty good so far, but this is just this form. So let's have a look at what happens when we super evolve this character. She transforms from being Free Spirit Fighter to being Cerebral Free Spirit. So she drops Fighter for Cerebral. She is int as well, so she does actually work pretty well with the Vegapunk characters that have been releasing. So let's have a deep dive in terms of what this character is going to be doing instead. So what you're going to see in this video is, I believe, her max potential with like level limit break 6+, as good as you can possibly get her. So let's go ahead and have a look. Captain ability. Int and Cerebral, so Cerebral Captain as well as being an Int Captain. 5.5 attack if they have recovery or a tandem slot, 5 times otherwise. And then all other characters still get an attack boost of 4.25. You get a health boost, recovery and tandem slots are matching, and if you attack with type advantage, you get recovery slot at the start of the next turn. So very similar captain, but slightly different. The super type is also changing a little bit here. So the condition is very similar, where you have one of the supernovas, but also added to the condition of that, Sabo, Kuma, and Vegapunk are all counted as activation requirements, which is dope. The super type special changes all slots including block to recovery, locks slots for 1 turn, remove 5 turns of fear, and reduces her own cooldown by 2 turns instead. So the super type effect is just much better. It's a much better form of the original base form. And then you have her special ability here as well, which I accidentally got rid of. Her special ability is somewhat similar, removing 10 turns of slot bind and special bind, so that doesn't change. Reduces the crew's special charge time by 2 turns now instead of 1, so that's a really big change. Sets all enemies' defense to 0 also for 2 turns, which previously it was only 1 turn, but it also ignores the immunity to defense down and immunity to status effects. So that's great. Defense reduction through immunity, which does allow you to use Vegapunk, the legend base Vegapunk, his special to grant a conditional boost will work with this. So that's great. But then it says, if 8 or more recovery slots were used in normal attacks before the special is launched. So that's a little bit of a damper on that. So it looks like you need to consume 8 or more recovery slots in order for it to go through defense immunity. If that is the case, then that really hurts the viability of this unit, because you really have to abuse the recovery slot mechanics to actually make this work. So I really hope that isn't the case, but the wording suggests that it's exactly what it's going to be. Furthermore, it changes empty, block, and unfavorable into recovery, and then boosts color affinity this time of cerebral characters by 2.5 for 2 turns, and then you get a chain boundary for 2 turns based on the number of recovery slots you've used before launching the special. So at a base value, you still get 3.25 chain boundary, and then you also get, sets the chain multiplier minimum to 3.25, maximum of 25, and further increases the color affinity by 0.25 if you've done 8 or more. So the boundary doesn't change, but you get more color affinity if you've consumed more recovery slots, and then if you've consumed, 15 or more, you get 0.25 extra to the color affinity, and it's a 3.5 boundary instead. Like, that component doesn't really matter that much. It really hurts the viability of the unit, the fact that the defense down only ignores immunity if you've consumed 8 or more recovery slots. That really hurts the unit. Like, if that wasn't there, this would be a god tier 6+. Despite all that, like, she is a good unit. This Bonney is going to be a nice unit to use, and a great synergy, obviously, with the Vegapunks, and I like the fact that they changed her to Cerebral. That does make a lot of sense. I was kind of anticipating that to be the case. I'm glad that actually did happen, which is good. We need to briefly have a look at her Pyramble stuff as well. So in Pyramble, she is an int focused character, giving int characters level 6 attack and health, and then all enemies defense down level 5. That's a really good Rumble ability, and I can already see great synergy between this, Vegapunk, and Atlas. Atlas being, the character that we keep going back to, because on paper, that Atlas character looks fantastic in Rumble. But the problem is that you need to run like a lot of int and cerebral focus units. So now we have the Vegapunk, who I already think is pretty good in Rumble, and then this character as well. Rumble ability starting off very good. The special ability 27 CT is very respectable, doing an effect that does a large range level 7 attack down for 20 seconds, and then your int allies get 7 attack up for 20 seconds, and then the kicker targets 3 enemies with 70% or more CT for a 40% CT delay. They've been doing this a lot recently with introducing these units that come into the game that reverse the character specials. They are some of the most frustrating characters to deal with, because when they pop off, they just nerf your entire team's damage and can honestly just straight up lose you the game if a timely special reverse comes in at the wrong time. And this is one of those units that can do that. Vegapunk, who we talked about in the video beforehand, also does a bit of special reverse mechanics. So this, with Vegapunk, together is going to be a really nasty thing to go up against. So it is what it is. This character does only launch the reverse if they've got 70% or more. But you've got some other characters in the past, like Nami Karina, for example. Their special reverse occurs to just anyone with the highest special CT. So no matter what, it's always going to activate. But for example, if a character has like 68, 69% special CT, then it's not going to reverse those characters. So there are positives and negatives to this, but the fact that it can reverse 3 characters and it's a 40% delay as well, which is pretty significant, I think this character is not that bad. As for her resistance, she evades action bind, and 40% damage reduction versus Psy characters is also pretty good too. So that's a 6+ of Bonney, and also we talked about Shaka, and of course we have the Vegapunk himself coming very shortly. So news time today, we're going to be getting the dev letter officially posted on all the social media channels, so there's going to be an additional video today once news time hits, as we get the information, of course. Also, news time today, we'll get the official announcement of the Kizuna Clash, the Vegapunk Sugo Fest, the 10th anniversary countdown. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about Bonney 6+, Vegapunk, and Shaka down below in the comment section. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.